here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use a branch because we've been lazy so far. Let's push that up to origin. Okay, so in our branch we'll call this Twitter support. Okay, and first thing we're going to do here is cd into our CLI and do a yarn add twit to add the twit package to our CLI project. However, not to our Electron project, separate. Fantastic. So let's go back to this documentation and see what they suggest. Well, let's just copy a little bit of this and create a new service, and I'm going to call this the Twitter service.js. It's going to be a class called, you guessed it, Twitter, and we're going to do a module.exports, if I can spell correctly, the Twitter. Right here we're just going to const twit is equal to require twit, and so this is essentially like an adapter pattern, I guess you'd say. So we're going to receive credentials when we initialize our Twitter, and we're going to save the credentials to ourselves whenever you create a Twitter class instance, right? And this is going to allow us to sort of do a little bit of dependency injection. Then what we want to do is we want to say this .client is equal to something a little bit like this. In fact, so much like this, we're going to copy it and paste it. I don't like just using a T there. I think it's more obvious what's happening here. Okay, so this timeout really should be a constant, so we're just going to call this timeout, and it equals how long do we care about? 1 second. Doing a comment with the units there and calling this our constant timeout. Strict SSL. Yeah. SSL is good. Cool. And then what we're going to do is we're going to destructure the consumer key, the consumer secret, the access token, and the access token secret out of our credentials. And that will allow us to use a shorthand like so. Claps, claps, claps. Ain't that tidier? I'd go so far as describing that code as cute. Alright. So that means that as soon as you create the Twitter instance, then we're going to instantly create the client, but we're not going to do anything with it, right? Oh, we need an equals sign here, right? I'm not going to do anything with it, but we're just going to create it. And this, essentially, I assume if we have anything missing, it's going to error out. So we're going to have an error sooner rather than later, which is actually good. Fail fast. Cool, and then I guess we want to essentially be able to do a post with arbitrary content, right? And that is going to be like this .client.post, and this string here really, once again, should be a constant. So I'm going to create a status update path, and that is going to be there. And then we can say, oh, we're posting to the status update, right? And here we're just going to post, well, if we call this status, then we can make this code even cuter by using that shorthand. And then we can provide a callback, and you know what? I think we can actually do the callback on ourselves and say on post response. Possibly. Or does it support promises? It must support promises. Come on. You're a modern library? Yeah, exactly. Cool. So, whoop. Okay, so what we want to do is because it's a promise-based library, we want to return the promise. And we want to say we're going to catch with console. In fact, no, we don't even need to catch. Then, and we'll run it through this dot on post response. And we will create a private section to this class and say on post response. And I'm not sure what we expect here, just a result. Okay. So then let's go console.log Twitter post result, and let's just bung that in. So what's really happening here? Well, we're posting to our client asynchronously to the status update pass. Whatever the hell we give to status, we don't really care. That's not really this class's job. It's not to care. Its job is to just send shit to Twitter, right? Cool. And then when we hear back from Twitter, we run this function on the result, and we just log out the result for now. And I think that's a pretty standard implementation here. We're not really doing anything yet. This is almost entirely just a wrapper around an API that already exists. Okay, so let's have a look at our commands. So let's create a new command now. And that command is going to be a Twitter command, right? And we're going to use the Twitter service instead of the ingest service to fulfill this command. Okay. And cool. So this pattern is going to be very similar to what we've done before, and it's nice. We will, in fact, I don't even think we need to define it can just be like a generic service, right? Okay, maybe not. Okay, so let's check we're okay. So we don't really want to do that, do we? Nope. Oh, I guess we do. Yeah, okay. So input is get input. The services are, yep. Now we're going to initialize the Twitter service, but we need to provide credentials. In fact, the options should really be our credentials. So let me just update our service slightly, because we want to always sort of be using the same structure for all of our services. So we're going to get options and services, and then this dot credentials equals options dot credentials, and this dot services. In fact, let's say this dot options equals options, this dot services equals services. In fact, blur. We've already written this code. Thought I was getting deja vu. Let's just call the superclass with that, right? And I'm pretty sure that is going to... Oh, wait. This one. Cool. Alright, so we call call the super, which is essentially the base service, like our parent class with the options and services, and that's going to do all that shit. And then what we want to do is actually destructure from this dot our options dot credentials. A little bit like that. Then we want to define our client. Okay, yep, kind of okay. Right. Okay, we don't really need to do that, so we can do that. Right. So it would be really nice to have a Twitter sandbox. Let's have a look if there is any documentation on how to do that. I don't think we'll be needing the streaming API just yet. Okay.